Hi there, this is Matt with ot3d.org. This video is part of a series of videos that I'm making. They're designed to teach occupational therapy practitioners, educators, and students about applications for 3D printing in their practice. My goal is to provide videos, resources, and instructional templates that'll help walk you through the process of using a 3D printer. Now in this video, we're going to take a quick look at some of the existing assistive technology that is available for free online and walk you through printing it out. So if you've been watching any of my videos, you might have heard me reference a website that's called Thingiverse. On my screen, I have it pulled up for viewing. Now there are a couple different websites that are out there, so I'll touch on these as well, but you can treat Thingiverse as kind of like a hub that attracts a lot of different users with a variety of different designs. Now it's not necessarily going to be the place where you'll find a focus on assistive technology, but it is a place that happens to host a lot of assistive technology if you know where to look for it. The search function isn't particularly great, so don't get discouraged if you don't end up finding what you're looking for on the first try. It might take a couple different tries, but we'll walk through that here in a minute. So another website that you might want to consider is a website called Makers Making Change. This website is a lot more specific in terms of what's available, with all of its designs being assistive technology. Unlike Thingiverse, the library of designs isn't on the front page, but you can come over here to the tab that says Assistive Devices, click on that, and you'll be directed to their library. In addition, this website offers things like design challenges, which I'll show you right now, by clicking over here, so you can request a device to be made or participate in designing devices for others. This might be something that becomes of interest if you start to learn the basics of 3D modeling, which I'll cover in some future videos. I think that this is an excellent way of getting practice and receiving feedback for your designs. So just to start out with an example for today, let's go to Thingiverse and find a design that suits our needs. If I happen to be, let's say, an individual who has difficulty opening soda bottles and other things that have that kind of nature, there are solutions that individuals have already uploaded. A good general rule of thumb is the more common that an issue is in the general public, the more likely you are to find a solution here on Thingiverse. In this case, let's search for adapted bottle holder and look through a few of the designs. Now I'm looking through a few of these designs, and there are a few things that I'm looking for, like interaction with the public through likes with the design. The more people have interacted with the design, the more support it's likely to have. In addition, I can look for individuals who have done testing on their prints. In this particular case, let's look at the Makers Making Change design because they upload to Thingiverse. I know that there is testing and a feedback process for their prints, so I know that I can trust it. With that said, let's check out some of the available information. So now that we're here looking at the design itself, we can talk a little bit about it. One of the things that I really like about this design is that it has this longer teeth setup, which I found to be really good for fitting multiple different sizes of bottles, which is something that not all of the designs have. If we scroll down here, we can see some of the settings that are in Thingiverse. So with the summary section right here, you can learn some about what's kind of going on with the print, some of the settings that they use. So you can see here they didn't use a raft, no supports, resolution was 0.2 millimeters, infill is 50%. These are all things that we can adjust in our slicer when we are actually printing the object. Now these tabs up here, this is what I was talking about with that community interaction, the comments. You can see there are a couple of different comments. This might include things like, hey, thank you for uploading this design, or in this case, there's a couple people making suggestions for changing the print settings for faster settings. You can also see other people that have made the project to just get an idea of what it's going to look like, as well as remixes, so changes that people have made to the existing design that might be better suited for your needs depending on what's in there. Now if we go over to the thing files, there's two files here in this particular case. So we have the bottle opener, that's the .stl file, so that's what we'll actually be printing out. And there's also a PDF that has the specs of the file. So in this case, we'll go ahead and download the STL. And I'm going to go ahead and download the PDF just to see what's inside of it. In this case, we have a couple different instructional images on how the piece is being used. So if you're distributing this to somebody, this might be something worth noting and something that you can give to the individual when you give out the device. So now that we have all that, let's go ahead and upload that STL file that we got from Thingiverse into our slicer. In this case, I'll go ahead and use the Prusa slicer again, just because it's what I happen to be familiar with. Now I'll go ahead and use the recommended settings that we saw in that PDF, as well as on Thingiverse in the description section. Now, one thing that the PDF said was that they recommend you use ABS. Unfortunately, I do not have any ABS, so I will not be using ABS. Instead, I'll be using PLA, so I'll configure my Prusa slicer here to go ahead and print in PLA, because that's what I happen to have. Let's see, they recommend 50% infill, so I'll go ahead and do that as well, and we shouldn't need a raft or supports for this design as there are no overhangs. One thing that's important to note is that you might not have these settings available in the print, depending on who uploaded the file and if they did their due diligence in providing that information. So that might be one of those times that you go and look at the comments, go and look at the other makes, see if they included details and what worked for them. If not, you can always experiment. Remember that using a higher infill percentage, up to around 50% or so, can give you really good strength in your print, while a lower infill percentage, around 20%, will give you a lighter product that may be a little bit less durable. Another real quick consideration is that you can actually change the size of the object that you're printing in the slicer itself. So if you come over here and click on this setting right here, it'll be in different locations depending on the slicer that you use. It can be typically a scale tab is what it's called. So you can adjust your size here, and just be mindful if you want to change one setting or if you want to change the entire object all at once, you can click on this little lock button to do that. And I've actually got a quick time-lapse of this print going off on the little Prusa Mini at my local makerspace. In reality, this print took around 2 hours to complete, but because I was prepared and I'd printed it ahead of time, I was able to focus on other tasks while it was printing in the background. Pulling the file off, let's give it a quick test. I've tested this particular file for opening soda bottles. I actually had a little bottle of glue that had gotten stuck. I was able to open it up and close it down, so just depending on the use case, a lot of the assistive technology that you make can have multiple uses. Now, there are a variety of existing files out there that you can try out and use. If you have the time, it's awesome to find a few that you might commonly use in your practice and have backups that are ready to go. That way you don't have a patient that's waiting on a 2-hour, 3-hour print to come out. If you are an instructor in an occupational therapy program, one of the cool projects that I've seen around is consider having your students address a functional barrier by either finding one of these files or online or using some of the other resources that I've made to create a file, print it out, and demonstrate its actual use in that function. So for more information, useful resources and guides, check out ot3d.org. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below the YouTube video. And happy printing.